What's up, YouTube? Honorable Tech, back here with John Shek, and today I have the battle of battles, the mid-range but awesome performing Zotac NVIDIA GTX 1060 in the left corner, and in the right corner, your left, is the Radeon RX 480 for the red team. The battle of the fittest, and we'll see who wins and take it to the end. That's really annoying. And what's up, y'all? We're back. And my phone rang, so I had to, yeah, that won't happen again. The phone's on silent, and it's, okay, we're good. I left off announcing the battle between these two cards, the green team and the red team. So we should probably jump right into the benchmarks. Let's see who actually is king in price to performance and performance to performance. Let's see who tops the charts. Stay tuned. Alright, before we get into the benchmarks, we're going to get into some specs for each card. For the GTX 1060, the Founders Edition, of course, it has a Pascal GPU architecture. It has 6 gigs of GDDR5 and with a memory speed of 8 gigabits with a 192-bit memory bandwidth. It has 1,280 CUDA cores with the base clock of 1,506 and a boost clock of 1,708. And of course, the technologies that come with the Pascal, NVIDIA SLI, G-Sync, Game Stream, you get all that support with NVIDIA 7 and 900 series cards, but with Pascal, you get the additional simultaneous multi-projection support, as well as NVIDIA Ansel, G-Sync 3.0, and this 1060, like the 960 and the 1060 cards, did not have support for VR, which this 1060 is VR ready. Now that we have the Founder Edition specs, you guys have something to compare this to. The 1060 Amp Edition, which is what I have here. But of course, the difference with any Amp Edition compared to the Reference or Founders Edition is it has a higher base and boost clock, and sometimes a higher memory clock. In this case, as I stated previously, it has the same 8 gigahertz with the Founders as the Amp Editions. But the difference with this card lies within the base and boost clocks. With the base clock of this Zotac Amp Edition 1060 being at 1,556 megahertz on the base, as well as a 1,771 megahertz boost clock for the Zotac GTX 1060. So in this Amp Edition, most of them come pre-overclocked with a beefier cooling solution out of the box. And it also comes with the same DDP and power draw as the Founders Edition, giving the Amp Edition a gain in thermal performance due to its more extreme cooler of dual 2 90mm fans, which are, wow, let me tell you, that actually seemingly quiet under load and actually close to bearable when you spike them up to 100% manually. They are phenomenal as far as the fans and how efficient they are and how quiet they are. It also has a dual heat pipe design and a mass heatsink fin array that stretches across the entire card and even overlays the end by a good inch to give it that much more cooling performance. And for now, the infamous opposing red team bringing in the RX 480. The specs for this card are, it has 2,304 stream processors with a base clock of 1,120 and a boost clock of 1,266. It has 8 gigs, this version that I have. It also does come in 4. This version I have has 8 gigs of GDDR5, which is operating at a speed of 1750 or higher, in quote, as AMD website states, in quote, so it's 1750-ish, which is relative by 4, and it comes out to 7,000 megahertz, where the Zotac is at 8. So if we were to kind of compare these two cards, which you really can't do, they're two totally different manufacturers, two totally different processes. But if you were to, theoretically, the RX 480 memory is operating at 1750 or higher, which is relative by 4 as I stated, which in turn equals 7 gigahertz as I stated, compared to the Zotac 1060 Founders Edition, which stands at 8 gigahertz. But determining if you can compare the two cards by the specs and the relative specs to another, let alone the different manufacturing process and manufacturers, is not today's subject. Though I gave a hypothetical comparison in the memory speed area. Okay, I digressed. But it also, coming back to the Radeon 480, the RX 480 with its specs, the version I have again has 8 gigs of GDDR5, which is operating on a 256-bit memory bus with a 150 watt TDP. So it is lower than the Zotac GTX AMP 1060. No, not lower, it's higher by 30 watts. This is. And with released out of the box when I first got this, it actually had pulling a little bit more out of the PCI slot, which caused some of the boards to fail. But I believe the driver update that they released a couple weeks ago fixed that. So it is surpassing the GTX 1060 by 30 watts of TDP. This is at 120 and this is at 150. So now that you know what's under the hood of these cards, let's go ahead and burn them in, if you will. Go ahead and benchmark them. And let's see how well they compare head-to-head in games and benchmarks. Because I bet these are going to tell us some telltales of who does what and who comes ahead of the other. And let's see how they go head-to-head. Now I have for you the overclock scores, as well as the without overclock scores, so you can see how much overclock I was able to achieve, as well as just the normal out of the box scores for those of you out there do not like to overclock or get free performance, or so maybe it's because you don't want to, maybe because you want to resell them and you'd like to say that they never been overclocked so you can get a higher resale value, or maybe you're just scared and you don't want to take caution and take the risk of breaking your card. Maybe it's one of those you don't like to overclock for. But yeah, you know, that's why I include both scores. So as well as you being able to see the gains I was personally able to achieve by overclocking compared to just the stock clocks of the cards. So let's get right into the benchmarks. Let's see them. Now as for the benchmarks, I was actually really surprised by these cards and who placed what ahead of one another, and as well as price performance to one and the other, which was, it really was interesting. I was really interested and exciting doing this video because it was, as far as the price range and how close they are and seeing who does what. Okay, I'm going to shut up and let you guys see for yourselves. So, we're going to start off with the green team. So, as far as for the AMP edition, the GTX 1060 by yours truly, Zotac. The fire strike score, the total fire strike score without overclock, the GTX 1060 by Zotac with my system, which you can find the specs for my test bench down in the description. Now, just be aware, it's kind of like not a disclaimer, but be aware that my system is not the greatest as far as benchmarking, and you can see it's decent. You can see down in the description what it is. But just keep in mind, that's why I did graphics score without overclock and with overclock, and the total fire strike score without overclock and with overclock, because a lot of other people's test benches will vary for the total fire strike score, and that's the score that you get at the end with the 3 score combines. That's what I'm talking about, just FYI. So for the GTX 1060 Amp Edition by Zotac, a total fire strike score without the overclock, we scored 7,881 for the total score. Now remember, that's all 3 scores combined. Now with the overclock, we scored an 8,075 total fire strike score. So about a little less than 100, maybe 94, 95 points higher with the overclock. Now that's with my system. Now the graphics score is not going to change too much per system, because it just feeds to the computer and it powers the fire strike, so you're going to get close to the same graphics score per system. So as you can see, the graphics score without overclock was 13,330, and with overclock was 14,267, and that is almost 1,000 points, a little 940 or something or so points difference, almost 1,000 points difference within for the overclock for the graphics score on Fire Strike. Now I guarantee if I had a little bit better computer to benchmark on, you would probably see that reflect more in the total Fire Strike score. But that graphics score, like guys, I was able to get plus, I think, 175 in my MSI Afterburner for the boost clock, the base clock, the clock of the graphics card. And for the graphics memory, I was able to get 300 megahertz added to the memory clock, which is just, it's like, wow. This card overclocks like a beast. I don't know if it was just the card that I got. It wasn't set to OC or gaming mode. I should get another one to test it, but honestly, this day and age for gaming, where technology is at and the manufacturing process and how much it costs, great year to be gaming, because this card, performance-wise to price, is out of this world. This card, like, wow. And go ahead and hit that like button for me if you want to see my kind of AMD / NVIDIA fanboy go head-to-head war. Final answer that I'm going to put to rest. I'm finally going to put to rest the fanboy war between the two, because testing this card with some other cards and then comparing the 480 to some other, it's going to be a great video. So go ahead and hit that thumbs up button if you want to go ahead and see that dual kind of GPU video, as well as the mix with this. And leave me a comment if you want to do that. And go ahead and hit that like button, because it's going to be an awesome video. Let me know if you guys want to see that, because it's going to be pretty interesting. It's pretty intriguing, pretty claw clenching, because I'm going to be getting into some unmarked territory, if you will. So this card, again, was a beast for me. I was able to overclock it to hell. I was able to pump the snot out of it full of voltage, and it just performed so well for me. It was just awesome. Now, moving over to the red team, sitting in my right corner and your left corner. Let's get on to those Fire Strike scores. Now looking at the RX 480 scores. Now again, for the total Fire Strike score on my system, without overclock, we scored 7,703 points, which is honestly for the price point is great. Without overclock, we scored 7,772. So that overclock compares to without overclock wasn't that much of a gain. Just about a 70 point difference. Now when we look at just the graphics score, it tells a little bit different of a story. We got a 13,104 graphics score without overclock. And with overclock, we got 13,340 points with overclock. So we gained about 230-ish points on the graphics score with the overclock. Now, with this RX 480, it didn't overclock very well at all. I don't know if it's just, I've kind of noticed that, a trend with the AMD. Go ahead and definitely hit that like button because you're going to want to see the video I make about the head-to-head war and the dual GPU and all that. Because the AMD card, some of them, this one, not so much. I don't understand why, but I was not able to get too much of a stable overclock. As you can see, I only got maybe 20 megahertz and about maybe 60 megahertz on the memory. And it just wasn't, I don't know what it is. I don't know what it was. It just wasn't fine for me. So, in my opinion, not fanboying out because I'm going to list some facts here. Now, I picked this card. I just got them before they all sold out. I looked like half an hour after I bought this, and all of them were gone. I picked this card up for $279, I believe. I paid a bunch for like shipping to get it like next day so I could make this video. But I believe it was either $259 or $279 for this card. And oops, I picked this card up for $245, $250. So if you think about it, it's about a $30 difference. If you compare performance-wise, spend the extra $30 to get, if we're looking at the highest overclock scores, we're looking at about 300 points both ways-ish. 300 points on the total score and about 200 on the overclock score between the two. That extra $30, in my opinion, is worth it. That's, to me, hands down. I love being able to get the overclocks. I love seeing that much of a difference. But if you're price to performance, this price to performance for this card, I mean, it's great compared to what we're used to seeing. Like 2 years ago, a card like this would be like $600. But where we're at nowadays, this price to performance is phenomenal. It is so awesome to see a card like this so cheap and perform so well. But if you're actually looking from a price to performance, disregarding where we're at nowadays in technology, the RX 480 hands down trumps. I mean, walks all over this 1060 when it comes to price to performance. This card, yeah, I didn't overclock well, but out of the box, with the overclock that I was able to get, comes somewhat close to this, and you save $30 to $40, which is close to 10%-ish when you think about it of the overall cost. So I mean, 10 to 20% of overall cost. So it's here is clearly a better deal, regardless of what we've seen in the past and the price, and to where we're at now in technology and the price, like I stated earlier. This card is hands down beast for gaming, for VR. Awesome if you're on a budget and you want to get a great card. Like I said, gaming for this term, this year, is phenomenal. But if you want to get those overclocks, if you're an overclock fanatic like I am, this GTX 1060 Amp Edition Zotac is just, I mean, wow. I was able to get the 50 that comes out of the box overclocked from the factory, I was able to get 300 plus that. So if you think about it, I was able to get 350 megahertz added to the memory clock over the Founders Edition, unoverclocked Founders Edition, which is just blows my mind. It is phenomenal. The RX 480 price to performance trumps this 1060. Blows it out of the water. It's like it's not even here, not even in the same realm anymore. They came out kind of to compete with each other, but when it comes to price, this is in a totally different category. So that's what makes this card so appealing. That's what makes it so great. Phenomenal card for the price. Performs great. If you're into overclocking like me, fanatic, want to get it done, want to push those bars to the limit, the GTX 1060 Amp Edition is the way to go. Phenomenal card. I have tested some other 1060s, but this I was able to get the most overclocks on, the best cooling, the quietest cooling. This 1060 would be the one I'd recommend if you can get your hands on it. I saw a couple on eBay. If you get your hands on it, I suggest getting it. It's gorgeous. It is absolutely a phenomenal card. I will be doing an overview of this card, just kind of like around it and the specific features and whatnot about it, because it's a great card. I absolutely love it. It did wonders for me. And these two cards are going to be the cards that are in the giveaway at the end of this month. So make sure you go ahead and like this video, and also like this video if you want to see my next video of the AMD head-to-head and the dual GPU and kind of all in that mix. And go ahead and get subscribed so you don't miss any future content. And of course the giveaways of these two cards, because you can't really beat that. There's some other things in there. I will also link the rules video down in the description, which tells you kind of how to participate, what to do, how to get extra entries and whatnot. And I'll also link the video that tells you what's being given away for the next month, which are these. Your choice of either these two cards or some gift cards and stuff like that. So both of those videos will be linked down in the description. Go ahead and subscribe so you don't miss any more content and you don't miss the giveaways. Because who doesn't like giveaways? Who doesn't like free stuff? Who doesn't like graphics cards being given? I mean, I do. I've already been hit that subscribe button. That's just me. So I appreciate you guys watching. Thank you a lot. That's my opinion again. AMD RX 480, phenomenal card for the price. Not even in the same category if you think about it as a 1060. 1060 for overclockers, hands down, great card for the price. Push those bars, push the limit on this card. It is absolutely phenomenal. So thanks again, guys. Go ahead, don't forget to get subscribed. Hit that like button for me. See more content. Go ahead and see that head-to-head video that's coming out. I appreciate you guys, and I will see you in the next one.